Yo, welcome everybody to another episode of Weird Growth, podcast where we talk to founders and hear about their strange and unpredictable stories to growth. Today we have Adam Barrell, the founder of So Media Group and social media socialite around Perth. So, mate,
sure,
thank you so much. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for that. Thanks for the invite. And I'm glad to be here and I guess tell my origin story. Hopefully it's as exciting as Wolverine, but can jump in.
That's what it's all about. Well, mate, please introduce yourself. You're going to be able to do it better than I can. And please tell us what you're working on.
So as you said, founder of So Media Group, and I guess our flagship is So Perth. So I guess as an iteration that's been around, I guess 7 or 8 years when Tweet Perth was founded. So we can I guess park that to the side and go back to that origin story. But in its current state, So Perth's probably been around for about 2 or 3 years, give or take. But so effectively we're a news and lifestyle publisher, and off the back of the success of that, we've launched into a travel platform as well, and into an entertainment platform for So Binge as well. So we're very busy at the moment and in the middle of an investment crowdfunding raise as well. So it's all happening. Yeah,
mate. I'm keen to talk all about that. Absolutely. Before we get stuck too deep into the story, I've got a little pop quiz question for you.
Right.
Put you on the spot a little bit. But if you were to start a new business from scratch today, what would it be?
This actually kept me up a lot last night. Definitely something in platforms and media. I think there's a lot of scope in that, build audience.
Yep.
So that's definitely part of it. But a video play is definitely where I would be heading.
Absolutely.
A video platform of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Interesting. What, maybe a specific kind of vertical or a niche or?
I would say something along the lines of like Clubhouse, but in a video sort of format would be amazing, I think.
Clubhouse has gone bananas.
It's gone, ballistic.
Why?
Simplicity, I think. It's just easy. You can just jump into conversation and easily find conversation as well with like-minded people. I think it's just been made so easy and successful from that, I guess. And the allure of what is it, because you can't get in.
That's the whole, there's like this exclusivity thing. I mean, I'm an Android guy. I can't use it yet. So like it's only...
it's great, yeah.
Yeah. So what sort of value are you finding on Clubhouse?
Like, for example, you can just like jump in on a conversation that Gary Vee's having as an example, and it's just like you can just sit and listen. You can put your hand up and maybe get to speak, but I just take fun in just browsing through and listening to all different people talk.
Do you get to get on there yourself and chat as well, or is it just a broadcast?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, like in the room, you can see there's like 20 or 30 different people.
Yeah,
or however many there'll be, and they'll like people raise their hand and actually like start talking, joining conversations. Yeah.
So you can like ask Gary Vaynerchuk a question, and he can swear at you in his New Yorker accent.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
So that'd be the best. Cool, mate. All right, now look, I would like to go back to the start with you. You've got a really interesting career journey, and the way that you've built this business is obviously sort of part of that. When did you first experience the power of social media? Can you remember what that was like when you first sort of felt that?
I guess so. Like the power of it actually, when it is part of the origin story, was when I literally had joined Twitter as part of my job at I was a marketing coordinator at a fashion company. Don't really know much about fashion, but anyway.
What was the fashion company?
It was Live Clothing back in the day.
It was Live Clothing.
Back in the day when they were an absolute juggernaut.
I used to spend many hours at Live Clothing in Karrinyup Shopping Centre.
Yeah. I was out there, got hired as the marketing coordinator. Don't actually have a degree in marketing at all. Actually, it's a double major in human biology and sports science.
The best marketers don't. That's
exactly. I was hired there as the marketing coordinator, and I literally joined Twitter because we were signing up to all the different social platforms and getting on board with that.
Yep.
And all the trains had stopped in Perth, which is stock standard in Perth, going back 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, well, when the power goes out, all the trains stop.
Yeah, exactly, or it's too hot.
Yeah,
too hot. So everyone's jumped on the news sites trying to figure out how they're going to get home, and like all the other news sites are talking about Brad and Angelina breaking up potentially for the 10th time.
Yep.
But no one's actually talking about why the trains are actually stopped in Perth.
And the thing that's relevant to me right now.
Exactly. So I've literally joined Twitter and just jumped on, done a Boolean search to go Perth and trains, and there was 50 people that actually tweeted why trains had stopped, but no one was talking about it.
Yeah, it's the immediacy of it.
Exactly. So coming from like having built websites like since I was 12, I went home that night and go, if I could build a website that pulls tweets in real time in Perth, there could be some value in that. So I went home, built a terrible website, but it worked.
Yep.
And I had literally streams of every single person that was tweeting in Perth.
So that was Tweet Perth.
Yeah, so that's how Tweet Perth was founded. And that was that was the power of everything. So it didn't matter if you say, hey, how you going, to whoever up the road.
Yep.
That pulled onto the website. But then this is before you could actually search on Twitter easily by saying, yeah, I want to search Perth.
Man.
And then it's like, well, there was no value in that because it was just like streams of activity. It was like you couldn't actually keep up or read what the tweets were.
Yeah.
And then that's when I decided to aggregate and go, well, if I put it into sports, traffic, news, weather, and actually like break it down into actually things of merit and value, then I could essentially like see everything that's happening in Perth.
You're creating like a local stream of what's going on around town. Yeah.
And then I just created Tweet Perth, the Twitter account, and I was just like firing off tweets everywhere and became like the most influential Twitter account. And then that's when I originally, I guess, like saw the power of social media and being able to have that, I guess, like pulse.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my early Twitter story was probably in 2009, and I was a political staffer. I was, working for one of the early adopters in politics of Twitter. Like Barack Obama had his BlackBerry, like with all the buttons on it.
Yeah.
And so it was like the cool thing to be tweeting from your BlackBerry. And this was before you could actually delete a tweet.
Yeah, exactly.
On your phone. You could do it, but you had to get back to the desktop and log into
So
Twitter on the desktop.
Very careful about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I had like a phone call from my boss. He'd tweeted like halfway through his sentence and it was just gobbledygook.
Yeah.
He's like, Cam, get on Twitter and delete this tweet. And I was out at lunch, like on St. George's Terrace. So I like left lunch and was like running down the terrace to get to the office to delete his stupid tweet that he stuffed up. So yeah, it was definitely old school days and it's come a long way since then. But
yeah, definitely.
It's still so powerful.
But I guess like the most exciting thing about that once I actually created Tweet Perth was I actually remember being at a movie premiere as one of the socialites of Perth. You get to go to these perks back in the day.
Social.
Yeah, exactly, back in the day. But and then I was actually just sitting in the cinemas and I was just like tweeting away doing my own thing. And there was actually people in front of me who were then like tweeting stuff that I was tweeting. Damn. And at that moment, I go, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like they don't know who I am. It's like a whole like Gossip Girl sort of thing happening. I was like, yeah.
There you go. And since then, we've had a US president who did basically 80% of his comms through Twitter and ran the country or the world almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
through 140 characters, 280 now.
Yeah.
You came from a big agency background as well.
Yeah, correct. So I was essentially from what happened with Tweet Perth headhunted by other agencies around town to come and work for them. So I was recently at Cara and Dentsu Aegis as the head of content and head of social out there. So I had spent a good probably 4 or 5 years while I was, I guess, like doing my side hustle of Tweet Perth into So Perth, and then eventually made the jump.
What was it like working at Cara when these big there'd be big agency type accounts and brands and things, I assume? Yeah,
it definitely opens you up to a whole new world of thinking, I guess, as to what other brands, I guess, see as success and how they run their businesses and what they need to achieve. But what I actually found, I guess, most rewarding was stuff that I was doing on the side, which was allowing me to sort of experiment on my own and find out what's successful, and then bringing that into clients and go, well, I did this, so it's going to work. And then they would see the results and be like, great, let's run with it. And
that's the best way to build yourself as a professional is to have that little side hustle where you've got the sandbox to experiment and try things out. And
there's no real issue if I mess up a little bit, but you don't want to mess up on a client. We're trying something that potentially might work.
So that means that those bigger brands are they're more risk averse, so they don't get to do the edgy stuff. So that does create opportunities for small players, doesn't it? Because they can have a bigger punt.
Yeah, and they can say, well, look, I just did it and it worked, so let's try it. So.
Yeah. But I think there's also very much a first mover advantage in a lot of these channels. I mean, in the early days of, say, Facebook, you could acquire new customers for a few dollars. That's the way after Airbnb sort of exhausted their customer acquisition on Craigslist. They pumped Facebook, and they would target people who were interested in wine and say, share your room with other wine lovers, and they could actually acquire customers for a few dollars for the hosts. But that sort of tactic now has just been arbitraged away. Like it would cost you tens or maybe even hundreds of dollars to acquire customers now.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the cool thing about new channels coming out, is it offers new opportunities to new entrants into the market.
Yeah, and I think that's where there has to be that good sort of, I guess, like marriage between the platform that you're using, but the content as well, and obviously how you're targeting it. So, but that's where I guess, like from a standpoint of where we are, and I guess where So Perth or So Media Group has literally been built by marketers as opposed to like journos. Mm-hmm. So we're essentially marketers running a media platform, which is kind of interesting, I guess, like a publisher platform.
True. So you got that insight.
So we know when we're going to engage a client, we can go, well, we have this pool of people that we know have read these certain articles, so we can create a campaign and then boost it to them on Facebook, and you're going to get far better cost per click, far better cost per lead, etc.
Yeah.
From us being smart about how we're, I guess, managing our audiences.
Yeah, and it's like quality content which connects with their customers, which is relevant to their lives, and it creates that really nice connection.
Yeah.
So media, so started with Tweet Perth.
Yep.
What was the evolution there from where you started out aggregating tweets through to where you are now?
So the website evolved, as I said, into those like different sort of categories, which gave it quite a bit of, I guess, context and value, so people could go on it and actually not have to use Twitter and figure out what's happening in Perth. But as with all things, when you build off, I guess, like a third-party platform, things could change in an instant. So Twitter announced one year that they were going to do 3 lots of API changes. And I was like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
Survived the first one, survived the second one, third one, site went dead.
So you could no longer grab like the hashtag Perth or something?
Yeah, not in the same way. So I couldn't pull the tweets the same way that I was. So the option was build the website and figure out what the API change is and rinse and repeat and go again.
Yep.
Or from the relationships I built with other Twitter users, other bloggers, and the media that I started doing sponsored content with and stuff like that, and clients. Or do I evolve that brand and think about how I can take that next step? Because when you think of Tweet Perth, it's not really going to, I guess, resonate on Facebook as much as on Twitter and Instagram, etc. So that's when I was like, all right, well, let's look at how we can expand the idea of creating that, so I guess, like sort of local voice and local pulse, and give it a brand that's going to be able to expand over different platforms.
So what was your thinking there, that you might be able to pull some of the top content from other channels into the one place, or was it to continue with Twitter, bringing that onto a different platform? How were you going to achieve that?
So the main goal was to effectively, I had really good relationships with a lot of, I guess, like local content producers, a lot of like local bloggers and stuff like that. So and because I had such a larger audience than them, I was like, well, if you want to write some content for me, that'd be great. We could both work together. So in the early days of when I made that transition from essentially Tweet Perth to So Perth, there was a lot of involvement from local bloggers.
Nice. So you were giving them an audience, giving them access to an audience, and you were fulfilling your content.
Correct. And whenever clients would come wanting sponsored content, it'd be like, all right, well, you guys are my content producers, so then here you go. Like, you guys can, I guess, produce that content. So it worked quite well, but it got to a point where I started needing to ramping up content. So it's just like, well, I'm going to have to take the reins and start writing a lot of content myself to really keep up and to get this where we want to go.
Yeah. So was that a concept you'd seen success elsewhere, or was it something
to be honest, I actually hadn't like researched like other platforms or where that was going. I sort of just had a goal of what I wanted to create, and I just sort of went for it. But obviously you can see over in the East Coast with the other, I guess, like new media platforms, that has definitely eventuated and built out over there as well. So I was definitely on the right path. That's for sure.
There are some reasonable sized businesses with the likes of like Urban List and that kind of thing, where they're just a content machine in that specific hospo vertical or whatever it is. So it can be big business, huh? Yeah,
exactly. And even on the, I guess, like the national sort of level, you punkies and junkies and stuff like that, especially from like the So Binge angle that we're sort of creating, that can sort of, I guess, that sort of fall in that kind of that lifestyle-y entertainment sort of platform. So yeah, it's definitely big business if you can get that traffic and get that fan base.
Yeah. And so talking about the fan base, who is that? Who are the sorts of people who want to consume that kind of content and are happy to sit there and read articles about their town? Like,
for us, it's predominantly 25 to 39-year-olds. So we have, I guess, like a slightly sort of, I guess, older demographic as opposed to, I guess, I think Overlist is probably a little bit younger.
Yep.
But yeah, that's where our main demographic is, which is great because when you're talking to brands, they're the people that they want to hit. They want to hit that millennial market, and that's where we're falling at a real sweet spot.
Yeah. I mean, what's the sort of gap that you're feeling there for those 25 to 39-year-olds? Like that content that you're producing for them, where
I guess initially because we had the 3 big news media publishers in town, and all they would be talking about is news and I guess like the Hollywood sort of style of rumors and stuff. And so I think there was always that fix of what's going to be like the local story that's going to be relevant to them, or what's the best places to go do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And when those I guess, platforms try and be like what we've been, it doesn't get received as much because it doesn't seem as, I guess, like sort of genuine.
Yeah, right.
In that sort of sense. Because the engagement that we'll get creating a content piece compared to what they will get based on the same sort of stuff, it doesn't compare.
So like the messages in the medium in a way,
Correct,
if you're reading something in the West by Rob Broadfield, it doesn't have that grassrootsy aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they're going for that sort of more high-end, I guess, probably older demographic with the Rob Broadfield, as opposed to we have our local foodie blogger who goes out there and she's on the gram instantly throughout the week just because she loves doing it. So I think that probably comes across.
For your customers, so your paying customers are the brands that want to reach your audience.
Correct,
What's the real value proposition for them?
I think it comes back to being marketers first. So it's not just creating a story just for the sake of creating a story. It's like, well, what's your objectives? How can we work with you and actually hit your KPIs or whatever your goals might be for the campaign? And having the research and the insights to be able to go, well, we can do content analysis and research and say, if we create an article around this, and we'll target these people and we'll give you XYZ Facebook spend and you'll get XYZ frequency, click, and we'll estimate it all up. So they get essentially a marketing package back that actually gives them, I guess, an actual overview of what the success is going to look like, as opposed to we can just create an article that might look good.
Yeah. And the results are nebulous. You don't know what's going to, and that's the amazing thing about digital, right, is you do have that measurability and you can show exactly what that ROI is. And
it's also like thinking outside the box, going, oh, we build chatbots, so they can go, well, we can build a chatbot and we can do X, Y, Z with it, as a difference to just doing a sponsored article campaign or creating a video or whatever it might be.
That's cool.
Thinking about other ways that you can create that more immersive experience.
So chatbots is something that people have been talking about for a few years now. Yeah. What are the sort of success stories that you have from
chatbots?
Implementing
love them. So, for example, we're just building our email database at the moment on Autopilot.
Awesome. Love Autopilot.
Which is just amazing. All we have to do is put copy into our Facebook post, getting people to, if they want to call to action saying press this emoji in the comments, and then it will fire up the bot and then they can insert their emails and then bang, they're on our email list.
Wow.
So just like doing simple stuff like that, it allows us to exponentially grow our email database without having to do anything other than set it up in the background. Obviously.
So it's a paid ad where you're reaching new audience members in Facebook?
No, it's just organically through the actual post. So every time, like if we post an Instagram photo that we know is going to go crazy on Facebook, we just put love heart emoji if you want to join our email list and get more Perth in your inbox, for example. And then people comment with the heart emoji, then it fires at the bot and they insert the email. And
so it's like they get a messenger
Facebook Messenger,
That's so cool.
Yeah, so stuff like that we've done when I guess like Australia was shut down with the pandemic. We launched So Binge, and we did that off the back of doing, I guess, live quiz nights through Como. And by doing that, we actually created Facebook chatbots, which got people to subscribe. And all they had to do is like you put it in an article, you send it out, people click the link, it activates Messenger. Do you want to sign up for the Friends live quiz night? It's happening on 8:30 Monday night. We'll send you an alert as the game goes live. Click yes. And then we've got the audience in the background and fires off the message to them. At 8:28 on Monday night, and then they just go from there, jump in, hit the link, and play the game.
Those quiz nights, those online quiz nights, was so fun during lockdown.
And everyone was loving it.
Such a community thing. Had that real vibe that you felt like you're still part of a community, even though you're locked at
exactly.
home.
And the amount of bands that it brought online, and it was great. And from doing that initiative, we grew like an email database of 10,000 within a few weeks.
Amazing.
So I was just trying to think of different ways that you can, I guess, make the most out of different technologies and different trends, I guess.
Who'd you say is your perfect customer?
Perfect customer. I think one that just wants to have a bit of fun and do something a bit different. I mean, we're more than happy to obviously keep doing the sponsored content and stuff like that, but we definitely, as I said, like with the chatbots and stuff like that, would love to do things that are a bit more experimental and I guess a bit more strategic and thought out. Because I understand that we live in a fast-paced digital world where you need to actually get out and do a campaign, and it has to run for like 2 or 3 weeks because you've got an objective in that 2 or 3 weeks to sell or do X, Y, Z. But I'd much rather do stuff that would go 6 months, 12 months and be able to weave everything in together and make sure we go, well, here's the audience, you can remarket to this audience, and we'll keep feeding in great content that keeps building that, etc. So
that's the thing, mate. Like, truly great marketing is a process, not a project.
Correct.
If you're doing it just to get the short-term sugar rush, it'll feel good at the time, but it's not
great,
actually growing your business in a long-term sense.
Correct, yeah.
It's not creating a new system in your business, which is
and
just
that
not grow.
like that investment that you make up front, it kind of gets wasted.
Yeah,
you make great results, but then there's no follow up and no building on that. So like you can definitely make that initial investment work harder by having, I guess, like extended strategic campaign on top of it.
Yeah. So your ideal customer, doesn't necessarily have a specific vertical or demographic. It's a frame of mind almost.
Correct.
It's the
Yeah.
ideal customer for you guys.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really great. So you're currently in the process of a crowdfund.
Yes. Correct.
On Birchal.
Yeah, with Birchal. Yeah.
How are you finding that process?
It's great. They say it's going to be a heap of work. You guys are going to be swamped. Like, yeah, whatever. We got this. Yeah, it was a heap of work, and we definitely got swamped. But the response was great. We didn't really know what to expect going in regards to the response that we got from our audience. But what made us decide that it was a no-brainer to jump in was we have a highly engaged audience. We have, I guess, people that are loyal and supportive of us. So it felt like a no-brainer to go, all right, let's give it a try.
There's the crowd, yeah.
We got the crowd, and like obviously we haven't had to invest too much in Facebook advertising, if any, to drive the, I guess, like expressions of interest that we got. Yep. We're able to rely on that community to get us where we wanted. So that's very encouraging. Yeah,
no, it's wonderful to hear. And this, like Birchal, you're sort of seeing more of it around the crowdfunding.
Yeah,
it seemed a little bit gimmicky a few years ago when it was actually more not even crowd equity funding. It was the old school like Kickstarter and
correct.
Things.
Yeah.
What is it about what Birchal's doing now that is sort of making it a little bit more legitimate, do you think?
I think they've, I guess, aligned themselves with some good brands to bring on board to start with.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they did like the Bunsters, the hot sauce, which kind of everyone knows.
Yeah.
But they just made the process nice and easy for us anyway, just to get involved and be able to, I guess, not have to worry about the legalities of everything because we work with their legal team to make sure everything's above board.
Yep.
So they essentially have that sort of hierarchy in over place to make sure that...
So they really do hold your hand through the process a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, and crack the whip as well, which is great.
Wow, that's what you want. Well, that's awesome to hear that you guys are getting smashed by it in a good way, and really exciting for you guys and for Perth and for tech in the area. What are your plans to do with the equity when you raise it? Like, what do you want to do?
Hopefully, if all goes to plan, we'll launch maybe next week with our investment round.
Yep.
But the great thing about it is I kind of feel like where So Media Group is at the moment, it's like you kind of just like lit the fuse of a firework. So it's just like slowly burning to the point where it's going to explode in a good way.
Yeah.
Because we're at the moment where we're going to essentially double down on where So Perth, So Aware Next, and So Binge is, and give them the content and the distribution that it deserves. Wow. So we can expand on our current platforms. But I guess the exciting thing is moving into the Sydney and Melbourne as a high priority, and acquiring assets in there to, I guess, expand aggressively.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then
So Sydney and So Melbourne.
Correct. Yeah. And then look at an esports vertical as well.
Oh,
in the scopes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Esports. What a world.
Yeah.
Bananas.
Which is, it's just crazy at the moment, that sort of play. And there doesn't seem to be like, I guess there is new media for localised in Perth or entertainment platforms across Australia. There doesn't really seem to be like an esports, I guess, platform that's kind of pulling it all together and that one sort of localised voice across whatever platform it needs to be. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So
are you a bit of a gamer yourself?
I dabble in a bit of 2K and FIFA personally. So that's probably about my limit. But business partner Jason's more into the esports side of things than I am. But yeah, definitely NBA and FIFA is where I'm at. Yeah,
awesome. Jason's on the board of Startup WA with me. Yeah. And it's really cool. He's part of the journey now as well and has been driving the race. It's very cool.
Cracking the whip as well. So it's been great to have him on board because we actually think alike as well, but at the same time differently, and we come from sort of different sides of the fence when it comes to like I guess the direction of where we're going to take the company. So it's good to have that back and forth, but have someone on the same same trajectory as where you want to take it. Like we've been able to grow exponentially since he's come on, which is great.
So good, and I can feel the energy. You've got an awesome year ahead of you. There's a lot of great things coming down the pipeline for you guys. So
thanks, mate.
Well done, very cool. one big piece of advice that you would share for other founders looking to grow or just starting out?
So I definitely think, I guess we're coming from a different perspective. We're not really a product as such, but for us, it's all been about audience and community. Like that's had to be built first and foremost. But I understand coming from, I guess, like potentially a product startup, that's the hardest thing to acquire and to actually build and engage. So for me, but I guess if you probably look at the experiences that I've been through, it's trial and error. Yep. Like I'm all self-taught, so everything I had to do, I either stuffed it up and then learned how to rebuild something, broke a website, rebuild it again.
But you got in and gave it a crack.
But I got in, gave it a crack and actually, just made the most of, I guess, being self-taught, watching heaps of YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff, reading lots of
all the
articles.
Information's there.
Yeah, and you just got to get in and have that experience and figure out how to do it for yourself.
No, two really important points, mate. But I think the first one's still really relevant for product founders or anything, because the closer you are to your customer, and you were your customer essentially when you started it. Yeah. The closer you are and the more in depth you understand the motivations and the way that they make decisions, the better the product is that you're going to create for them. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. We may have a question or two from the audience. Jack, did you want to jump on the mic over here and?
Sure. What have we got, mate? Question from Jenny around community building. Obviously, community is a big part of So Perth. Her question was what are the pillars to building a community?
The pillars to building a community. I guess
if there are pillars, they could just be stumps or
holes. I guess it could be the way she's asked the question could be multiple ways. Like, is it through content pillars? Is that what it is? Or is it through pillars of how you actually research your content, the strategy that you I guess, implement? But for us, it's actually been a lot of content research.
Okay.
So
what does that involve?
So that involves us actually making sure that when we write a content piece, it's going to work.
Right.
Because we're quite low capacity. We have a small and mighty team, but we need to make sure if we're going to invest time in writing an article for an hour and a half, it's got to be on point, and it has to work across Google and it has to work across Facebook.
Okay.
Because if you do that, then organically you're going to build your community.
So how do you figure out what's the right thing to create? All right.
You just have, it obviously helps to have the tools that we have on hand, but just doing research into what your competitors are doing to see what has worked and what hasn't worked for them, because that's your best place to start. Okay. But then if it's in a specific vertical of content type, it's then figuring out what's working in that content discussion or content type. Even looking at comments to find out what people are talking about, because they might be asking a question about the content which it doesn't answer. So it's like, well, that's the perfect bit of content you need to write.
Yeah. So again, being close to your customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think community also starts with your website, because that's where all the traffic you're going to be generating goes.
Right. So that's your owned piece of real estate.
Exactly. Yeah. So you need to be able to hit people back on emails and be able to remarket them based on Facebook pixels, etc. Yep. So for me, community, how do you build a community? Yeah, I think it's definitely around making sure the content sticks.
Love
100%.
It. Yep. All right. Well, the other thing that we do on Weird Growth is we ask for a little show and tell. So it's like your favorite tool or device or process or whatever that you use in your life that makes your life better, that you reckon everyone else should use.
Favorite tool, BuzzSumo is, I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
I have.
It's a powerful beast. Highly recommend that.
Yep. Why is that? What do you?
Helps a lot with content research.
Yeah, right.
That's definitely one of the top tools that we have. But one thing that's actually changed my life is Superhuman, the email client.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm one of those people that's guilty of having a massive inbox.
Yep.
And that's just, alleviated that issue. And it's just made, like, for example, when you're out and about and you're reading an important email, go, I'll get back to that when I get to the office.
Yep.
You can just do a swipe and it goes, and when you get back to your desktop, it will then come straight up to the top.
Oh wow!
That
Okay,
just like that alone has changed my life.
You don't need to have that sort of like cognitive load of having to remember to go back.
Yeah, because you'll jump on your email straight away, and there'll be another email sitting there, and you'll be like, "Oh, we'll get onto that," and then you just completely forget.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
So is that still only a plugin for Gmail?
Yeah, it's a plugin for Gmail, but it completely changes how Gmail works. It's amazing.
Hey, we use Exchange. We're pretty old school. But yeah, I mean, I listen to Jason Calacanis, and he's always banging on about superhumans.
Yeah, like I was skeptic as well. I was like, but yeah, it completely changes email. That's been a massive change for us.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, mate. Thank
But
you.
I
So
could- yeah,
BuzzSumo and Superhuman.
I could talk about a million different apps, but yeah, those two are amazing. Yeah.
We'll do another episode just where you share all your
Yeah,
apps
exactly,
and tools. Yeah. All right, that's cool. Well, I think that's pretty much. That's been fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, there is so much more we could talk about, maybe for another time. But
Yeah.
congratulations and
Thanks, mate.
all the best for the next few months on the raise. It's very exciting. Is there a final plug or ask of anyone that's out there listening that you'd like them to?
No, just I guess just watch out for the investment round that's going to be coming up. Jump in, support us, come on the journey of building what we hope to be Australia's biggest new media platform.
Yep.
So
and if people want to find out more, where would they go?
they can just go to our website, soperth.com.au, because we've pretty much got it all there, or just go to the Birchal crowdfunding page.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Weird Growth. If you enjoyed today, please do subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, even YouTube. We're on video, 3 angles. So thanks so much for listening. If you really like us, you can leave us a review. But until next time, bye-bye.